Republican Party was the party that started to dig us out of that in this country and to improve us every day, which she never actually says. DeSantis says it, and I'm surprised at that because that's part of our proud history as Republicans, the fight against slavery.
Can I just say something, though? I mean, we talk about this as if it is the past. We've covered stories where people have died, have been killed because of racism. Jacksonville, Florida, the Dollar Tree shooting. I mean, this is happening right now. And this is not just the Black community, right? The Japanese internment. I mean, those families and descendants are still here. My last name is Alford, not because my family chose that last name. That is the name of the slaveholding family that owned us. I know the plantation that we are from in South Carolina, and I am here. My father desegregated a school. He remembers those things. So why do we have to talk about it as if it is past? This is right now. The pain is real. The survivors of racism, we are here, right? And so if you don't have a message around that, that talks about the future, that talks about the present, you cannot lead this country.
Well, Republicans do have a message around it.
And it's to ignore it. It's to say that we are colorblind, which does not solve the problem.
But it is to say that we are undoubtedly a better and stronger nation on this front today than we were 10, 20, 40, 50, 150, 180 years ago. We are undoubtedly better as an American people than we ever have been, and that will be true again tomorrow.
But why is that? But why is it? It's not because we ignored it. It's because people called out what was uncomfortable, and they challenged the status quo, and they said we need to live up to what the American dream actually is. Those were the people who were demonized. We just celebrated Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was killed. He was killed. He was not considered a favorite or a darling of America because he stood up against racism, against poverty. And actually, the greatest threat was that he was uniting poor white people, right, with poor people of color. That was the greatest threat to America, was that he was willing to bring us together. So again, we have to move past talking about this as if it is history, as if it's not happening right now. And when the Republican Party does this colorblind thing, you're gaslighting people. And they're going to react to that, and they're going to show it at the polls.
You know, the problem is not what you just said, right? I mean, that's a message centered around patriotism and opportunity and equity. The problem is that there is no leader currently in the Republican Party vying for the presidency who is saying what you just said. I mean, to openly deny that America has ever been a racist country, you know, every politician has tics that were developed from their start in politics. And clearly what Nikki Haley saw in South Carolina 20 years ago as a person of color is she had to say things like this in order to advance early on in her career. That in and of itself is such a great tragedy. But right now, it's not just horrendous what she's saying, but it's politically stupid. I can't think of one Republican primary voter who's like, you know, I was with Trump, but then Nikki Haley said that we were never a racist country, so now I'm with her. The smart thing for her to do is to focus in on these independent, moderate voters and try to gain some momentum out of New Hampshire. That is her only hope. But then, of course, she still goes into South Carolina, her home state, where she is trailing Trump by 35 points. This primary, unfortunately, is just about over.
You do raise an interesting point about the audience in New Hampshire. She needs non-Republicans, basically, to come into this primary. And so how she addresses these kinds of topics, how she addresses topics that a non-Republican audience is listening to is going to determine whether she can actually get close to him or not. I'm not sure it's going well at the moment.
Because undeclared voters could be
they can come right in.
There.
Not Democrats, but undeclared New Hampshire can come in. And people who say, well, I don't want Trump anymore. I want to move the Republican Party past Trump. Well, you can't give answers to questions that make them say, well, you sound like Trump, because then they have no reason to come in and look, this is what Chris Christie was saying in the hot mic the other day. I mean, this is basically why he was saying she's not up to this, because she can't paint the clear choice for the actual non-Republican or anti-Trump voter. This is the tightrope she's on.
And it's also why DeSantis is not up to it as well. Too close to Trump.
Thank you guys very much for this important conversation. Appreciate it.